Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss with you the summary of the course Functions, Tools and Agents with LangChain by Harrison Chase on Deep Learning. So, first of all, we'll be discussing something new that's come up with OpenAI, that's come out by OpenAI function calling. So, earlier, like if you asked ChatGPT, what's the weather like in Ladakh? So it would be giving us a paragraph. But now with OpenAI function calling, we can get returns of clean data like location, Ladakh, temperature, -4 degrees Celsius. It's like we are teaching ChatGPT how to fill out forms and writing as instead of writing the essays that it normally does. So why this matters, this new function calling that's been added by OpenAI. Now we can just get structured data as outputs instead of paragraphs that was normally being generated in ChatGPT. So we can get the dates, names instead of the entire paragraphs. Then we can trigger the APIs automatically. Example, for this case, we would be fetching the weather API directly and it would be giving us the output. We can connect it to the API. And the real use case would be like the automating a customer support. We can pull order numbers from emails instantly and we can go on with the further support. Now, next we go through with LangChain expression language. Now, LangChain expression language is what I was discussing in the previous course. It's an assembly line for AI apps. Instead of we code each step manually, we can chain the components. We can take the user's question, that is the prompt that we're taking. Then we can pass it to the chat GPT, the model that we're using, and then we format the answer using the parser. Now we can do all of this and we can also swap it. Any piece that previously I was talking about, remember in the previous course, in the previous videos. So you can swap any part of this, the prompt, the model, or the parser, and it won't break the flow. Now the use case could be like we could be building a study helper in minutes. Like it will take our question, it will do the research, and will just give us a simple explanation instead of a very lengthy explanation or a very short explanation. We can specify the number of tokens as well in our input and our outputs. In our outputs, I mean, sorry. Then next we move on to tagging and extraction. Now first tagging. Tagging we can be used can like you can understand by saying that we can classify text with it. So this review is angry. So tagging, first we are talking about classifying text. So for example, we take for classifying text the review. This review is angry. So in this, it will fetch out the tag sentiment negative. With this, we can just specify all those messages that are negative in social media and just be like, yeah, this is negative sentiment. It's positive. These are neutral stances. And then that is what we'd be using it as a use case for. In social media comments, we can just tag all of those comments into positive, negative, neutral. And then we move on to the next part, extraction. Now, extraction, as the name suggests, it's pull specific data. For example, my name is Rhino and I am 399 years old. Now, from this, it will fetch the data name Rhino, age 399. Now, for the use case for this would be, I think it's been being used right now. It will scan the resume for skills and experiences automatically. It will just extract that data. The skills that it's required, it will then match it, and it will just pass the resumes that are matching the requirements for the company. Next, we move on to the topic tools and routing. Now, tools we have discussed previously as well. Tools let our AI use apps like a human would, like how we are using calculators or any games. An example would be calculate 10% tip. We could build a calculator tool which would be using the calculator API in that tool maybe, and it will just calculate what the 10% tip is. We have given the tip as a query, and then find cheap flights. It will use the travel API tool, for example, and it will find us the cheap flights that we're looking for. And then we move on to routing. Routing is the AI's decision making. Like before, we were doing routing in uh, chain routings, and it was deciding where to go. The same thing is done over here as well as routing, such as that it will choose the right tool. For example, I gave these two tools to you, to the agent, the calculator tool and the travel API tool. So if I give it the prompt, calculate 50% of 699. Now from that, it route itself. The AI will be using the routing to, okay, we'll be using the calculator tool now. So it will jump to the calculator tool and then it will do it and solve and give me the answer. Like how we choose whether we should be using, what do you call it? Uh, let's drop it. An example for this would be like for going out in cold, whether we would be using t-shirts or sweaters. So yeah, we have the intelligence to know that yeah, we'll be using sweaters because it's cold outside. That is the very thing that the routing does, AI does in routing. So the use case for this, as I specified previously, it would be like designing a personal assistant that can book flights as well as calculate maths. It can do both the function and it decides based on what your query is. Lastly, we move on to the topic of conversational agents. Agents has been a topic in every one of these courses. So conversational agents. Agents combine the memory, tools, reasoning. It could for this you can imagine that it's a teaching assistant that can remember our past questions. It can choose the tools, Google or calculator, and get like new sets of questions that we want to build for a new exam or grade our assignments. And it could fix the errors if it is having an errors, like double checking, like as we checked in our previous course, the QA evaluation, or using another chat model to check whether the previous answers are correct or not, the predicted answers and the correct answers. So unlike the basic chatbots, agents can learn from our conversations. We could say that we booked the same hotel at as last time, and it will actually remember it because of the memory that we because of the memory function of LangChain that we studied in our previous video. So you can go look up the previous video and you can learn about memory in LangChain and then come back here. So thank you. This will be all for this course summary.